All right. The time is 6:30 and a quorum being present, I call this meeting to order. First items on the agenda, do we have any minutes? I don't think we do. Don't have any minutes, so we can get straight to agenda item A, request for certificate of compliance for William Johnson, 18 Hinckley Road, Assessors Map 72, Lot 20. I understand that this applicant has moved across the country and will not be here, but has let Abigail speak on his behalf.
Yeah, so William Johnson has moved to California and could not attend tonight. They had applied to add an addition onto a single-family home and a couple other landscaping-related activities. None of that work has been done. There is no as-built. As none of the work has been done, I took a site visit. None of the work has been done, and they're looking for an invalid order of conditions so that they can sell the house.
All right. Seems, I don't want to say it's standard, but we've done invalid orders
Yeah, basically,
a
they just
couple
want a clear
times, I
title.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions or comments on this one from the commission? Not hearing any. Could I have a motion to ratify the request for the invalid, how am I going to phrase this? It's a motion to approve an invalid certificate of compliance for the applicant. Do I have a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right. Agenda item B, request for certificate of compliance for Douglas Merluzzo, 170 Charles Drive, Assessors Map 7, Lot 26. Is there anybody here for that? I just ask that you come up and introduce yourself, and then the floor will be yours.
Hi, I'm Barbara. I'm here on behalf of Doug Merluzzo and Danielle Noseworthy, who's the homeowner.
And can you just walk us through the process so far?
Yeah, so we applied for family suite addition. We had to do some stormwater management. We had to do some things to protect the land for conservation. We did everything basically as planned on the as-built. We had Abigail come out and check everything. We had paperwork sent by the surveyor over as well showing what we did. It's almost exactly as the plot plan. I think the only difference was we extended the walkway to the entry of the family suite, which we hadn't put that on the original plot plan, but they did need a walkway, so we just connected the existing walkway. And we ended up having to overdo on the stormwater management because we had only planned on one location, but they suggested 2 locations. We didn't want to go under, so we did probably more than we should have, like an extra barrel.
All right. Do you know how big the barrels are that?
I'd have to refer to the paperwork, I'm not sure.
And I'm assuming the exact square footage of the walkway isn't, you also don't know that off the top
I
of your-
don't know off the top of my head, no.
Can you give me a rough estimate of how wide it is and how long it is?
Let me look on the plans really quick. Where's my scale? Okay. I would say probably like 30 feet from, it's just from the main entry of the house to the side entry of the in-law, so.
All right.
Yeah. I'd say probably no wider than like 3 feet,
All right.
yeah.
I guess this is, I won't speak for the rest of the commission. I think these changes aren't that big of a deal. And this isn't directed totally at you. It's more of a just generally putting this out there. We keep on seeing people change the project plans and not coming to us beforehand. Again, I'm I don't think these are that big of a change, but like, I fear the day that somebody's gonna come in and, you know, they're gonna change something that's too much for us, and they're gonna have to spend a lot of money to, you know,
Fix
get
it.
rid of it and stuff. And, you know, again, not totally directed at you. I understand these things happen. It's not that big, in your circumstance, it's not that big of a change and stuff, but just want to throw that out there so anybody else in, the universe might hear that and stick to their project plans a little bit more closely. All right. Any other questions or comments from the commission?
Can I just ask, it says on the plans that it's a concrete walkway, but the pictures look like asphalt. What is the walkway that you added made out of?
I believe it would be the asphalt. It's what it looks like visually, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the kind of patio on the back area there, was that part of the original plan, or was that added on as well?
The deck in between the houses
Let me show it,
or to the left of the addition?
right here, in the back.
Right here or
This part right here.
That was, I don't believe that was the walkway area and the extension where it comes at the, like at the door.
Or is that the door? Yeah, that's just a concrete landing in front of the door, and then the walkway ties into the main walkway.
Okay, so that's the concrete part.
That was what was not on the original plan, I don't believe, the walkway and the landing.
That's the one, and there's a few yard, chairs in the picture. All right. All right. If there's no further questions or comments from the commission, I will entertain a motion to approve this certificate of compliance.
All right, I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
All right, awesome, thanks, guys.
All right, another certificate of compliance. This is a agenda item C, request for certificate of compliance for Mara Cousins, 1624 Main Street, Assessors Map 72, Lot 35. Please introduce yourself for the record, and then the floor is yours.
Mira Cousins, Civil Design Consultants. So this is a request for a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 305-1189, and this is associated with the Soldier On project. So the order of conditions was issued in 2023 for the installation of a water level control device to mitigate the flooding issues impacting the construction of Soldier On housing at 1660 Main Street. So the flooding was due to a beaver dam located in the wetlands on the direct abutters property at 1624 Main Street. So the device was installed, it solved the flooding issues, and it allowed the construction at 1660 Main Street to resume. And that's all I have.
Awesome. I'm a fan of the beaver deceivers. I'm curious about what the maintenance is like for them. I forget if you have a maintenance plan or anything like that.
I believe that was included in the order of conditions. I personally do not know when it was last maintained.
All right.
Yeah. But it's encouraged to remain in place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, because this wasn't for the overall project, Soldier On property. This is just part
The
of it.
direct abutter, yeah,
Yeah, all right.
yeah.
All right. All right, if there's, anybody have any questions or comments from the
Tough piece of
commission?
property, yeah.
Yeah. I will entertain a motion to approve the certificate of compliance
As requested.
as
as this?
Yeah, as discussed at this
As
meeting.
discussed. Okay, yeah, I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't get up. Agenda item D, request for certificate of compliance for Mara Cousins, 1660 Main Street, Assessors Map 73, Lot 40. Could you please introduce yourself again, and then the floor is yours.
Sure. Mira Cousins, Civil Design Consultants. So this COC request is for DEP file number 305-1139 for the main Soldier-On project site at 1660 Main Street for the 4-story, 21-unit housing for veterans. So the original order was issued in 2021. The project came out great. I walked the site with Abigail a couple of weeks ago, and the work was completed in substantial compliance with the approved plans.
Awesome. Yeah, this is a good thing, I think, for the town.
For sure, yes.
It's a tight fit, as we just discussed at the last agenda item. A tough property, but it's good to see that it's completed.
So the only deviation we have is the maintenance shed increased?
Correct.
Oh, that's the one, it was originally supposed to be 140 square feet, and now it's 170 square feet? or
Yes, it
something
was
like
originally supposed to be 12 by 12. It increased to 16 by 10, so there was an increase of 24 square foot.
All right.
And that was for the bike storage.
that? All right,
That was the reason why it had to, the size had to increase.
all right. Any questions or, any additional questions or comments from the commission?
I'm good.
I have none.
In that case, I will entertain a motion to approve this request for certificate of compliance.
I will make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.
All right. Agenda item E is a public hearing, a request for determination of applicability for Brendan Walsh, 6 Hillside Road, Assessors Map 98, Lot 135. Please introduce yourself for the record, and then if you could explain what you plan on doing.
Yep. My name is Brendan Walsh. I reside at 6 Hillside Road. I am looking to replace my current driveway and also add an extension about 12 feet off of my garage. I was here a few years ago with an unclear expectation of how to add drainage, given that I'm in a certain linear footage of the wetlands. So I figured that out with a contractor, and we're going to try to put in proper drainage to alleviate any additional flooding that could be caused by the driveway extension, so.
All right. I just want to make note that we have Linda recusing herself from this public hearing. So besides that, so am I on the right? So it's I'm sorry, I clicked on the wrong folder. All right, yeah, so you're expanding the driveway, and you're putting a French drain on one side. So from the image that you provided, the current driveways, that's being repaved.
Yes.
And you're adding grass to the side of that also?
No, in the original sketch, the veer-off came a little closer to the main road, so I'm pushing that taper up a little bit.
All right.
So I just, basically on the new sketch that I updated, I just replaced that piece of pavement and just pushing it up a little more, so it is just more away from the street.
All right, so do you know about how much further back that taper is?
I would say probably an additional 4 to 5 feet up. Yeah.
And then I guess I just want to make note of so the French drain. I don't have any big issues with it, but typically like a drain is draining to someplace. I want to make you aware that if this, if the French drain ends up making its way into the wetlands, that's a potential enforcement order. You'd have to clear that up and basically fix the French drain or figure out a different solution. So just be aware of that. Like if it does, if it's not working correctly and it starts making its way into the wetlands and somebody notices that, I don't want you to, come back here under that circumstance. So just.
Yeah, understood. It's going to drain in the opposite way. Actually, I think I added in the new sketch as well, there's a catch basin right there, which I actually did want to touch upon after this gets figured out. But yeah, so it's going to drain in the opposite way, away from the river. There's plenty of grass there anyways, so I doubt flooding will become an issue, but that's just a precaution.
All right.
Yeah, I just want to know, you are adding a lot of impervious surface there with pavement, so taking away that much lawn does affect runoff, for sure.
Correct, yes. And the plan was with the contractor to grade it in the opposite direction towards my house rather than towards the wetlands. So that was what is discussed. So we could talk more about it with the contractor and make sure that's being done when the time comes.
You don't have like the slope that is being proposed.
I do not know.
But the contractor knows to direct the water into the.
Yeah, he was, exactly, yeah. I gave him the initial problem that I ran into a few years ago and said, which is, it's I'm not going to gatekeep who it is. It's Cooper Paving. He does this a lot. So he knew right away on how to get past this and that he does this all the time. So he's very aware of the issue. So yeah.
All right. If there's no further comments or questions from the commission, before I open it up to the public, I'm just going to read out some special conditions.
Okay.
So conditions may include the applicant shall install and maintain perimeter controls around the area of work to prevent the deposition of debris into nearby resource areas. Perimeter controls shall remain in place till all areas of erodible materials have been stabilized at the site. These controls shall act as a limit of work. No equipment can be stored or work done past that point. And prior to any construction activity commencing, the following must be completed. ESCs shall be installed by the applicant or an agent of the applicant, and the conservation agent shall inspect and approve of the installed ESCs. So that's just straw wattles or the fencing along the side of it. Any issues with those special conditions?
No. Understood.
All right. So I'll open up to the public. This is a public hearing. Anybody in the public who would like to get up and make a comment, I just ask that you introduce yourself. Not seeing anybody get up, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability for this applicant?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
No problem. Can I just touch upon one thing too?
So I just
You already
want-
made a motion, so.
Yeah, we've already made the motion.
I was just going to touch on something completely different for the erosion control along the street, which we addressed in the past, for the millings that always runs into that catch basin.
All right.
But it's fine. I don't know, you already closed the.
I'll give you a call tomorrow and we can
Okay,
discuss.
yeah, sounds good.
All right, sorry
All
about
right,
that.
it's okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. The next item on the agenda is public hearing, notice of intent for Essex Petrie, 41 Jenny's Way and off South Street, Assessors Map 109, lots 76 and 91, DP file number 305-1217. Could you please introduce yourself for the record, and then the floor is yours.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. My name is Essex Petrie, here with, from Pulte Homes, here with Christina McAvoy and Tom.
Excuse me, could you speak a little louder? I can't hear back here. Thank you.
Sure thing. So Essex Petrie with Pulte Homes of New England, here with,
Still can't hear you.
Ma'am, so I'll ask that you pull the microphone up and really speak into it. If you can't hear, you're going to have to come sit closer. We can't do too much more than that.
I can do that.
all right, once again, sorry, Essex Petrie with Pulte Homes of New England, here with Christina McAvoy and Tom Schutz from Goddard Consulting. We are here tonight to discuss the notice of intent submittal to conduct soil testing at 41 Jenny's Way. Pulte Homes recently put this property under agreement, and in order to access the upland area, as you can see on the screen there, we need to cross wetland areas. And so I'm going to turn it over to Tom and Christina to go into detail about the NOI.
Absolutely. So my name is Tom Schutz. I work at Goddard Consulting, and we're here on behalf of the applicant at 41 Jenny's Way, and then also properties that are labeled South Street off. So we'll just look at the brief presentation here. This is the site plan that was submitted with the notice of intent. This is the zoomed out version of the site. Just to kind of give you a brief reference, Interstate 93 is bordering the entirety of the northern portion of the property. We have single-family houses associated with Jenny's Way that are up in the northeastern portion of the property, and then also agriculture that is on the western portion of the property. Finally, there's a private way that is bordering the entirety of the southern portion of the property. So the only entrance onto the site from a public way is Jenny's Way itself. Jenny's Way, the access to the site is up in that top corner. You could see the long kind of finger off of Jenny's Way. If you drive down there, you'll see that there's an opening into the forest with an existing cart path that goes all the way through our property on no other properties, and that's the way that the excavator will drive when we get to that point. Resource areas on site include a large bordering vegetated wetland, which can be seen in the western portion of the site, a couple of isolated vegetated wetlands which are non-jurisdictional under the state of Massachusetts but are jurisdictional under the town's bylaw in the central portion of the site itself. There's also a perennial stream with an associated bordering vegetated wetland in the eastern portion of the site. And then finally, there's another larger isolated wetland which is directly abutting the private way on the southern property boundary there. There's also a FEMA flood zone AE, which is interior to the large western bordering vegetated wetland itself. That would trigger the resource area bordering land subject to flooding. So if we were to overturn or change any of the grades, that would require compensatory storage, but we're not proposing any of that in our actual application. So this itself, you could see if you're looking at the site plan behind you, it has all of our test pit locations for soil sampling on site. Soil sampling and test pits are an exempt activity under the Wetlands Protection Act and under the Tewksbury Wetland Bylaw, even if they're within the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland, isolated vegetated wetland, or within the riverfront area. So the black dots itself are the exempt activity. What we're here tonight in front of you for is the actual temporary crossing, which can be seen in the yellow and brown section of the site plan there. We initially had submitted we initially had submitted for a 12-foot wide crossing on a 500 linear foot existing pathway. That existing pathway is actually shown in the brown there. We won't be accessing any of the pathway off-site, just the area that's actually interior to our site, so we'll get to that in a second. But the pathway itself is around 6 to 8 feet wide. It can fit a small excavator, so we're proposing to use a small rubber-tired excavator to cross the wetlands itself. This excavator will also be on top of rubber mats, which will prevent any additional impact to the wetlands. So all of the actual work is temporary in nature. We don't anticipate the treads or the tires to be turning up any of the soil, as they are rubber. So they're not the tread type excavator, which would then lead the treads in the soil, as you would expect. We chose this specifically so we would leave behind no remnants that we had even crossed the wetland itself. Initially, we had proposed bog mats, which were 12 feet wide, which was why we were at 6,000 square feet of BVW impact, which was why we also needed to submit for a limited project, and DEP called us out and said that we didn't actually meet any of the standards for the limited project itself. So we had to revise our submittal and then use the rubber mat and the rubber tired vehicle in order to now be at 4,000 square feet, with the impacts just being under the 4 feet of the 4 feet of rubber mat that's going to be underneath the tires itself. The path again is around 500 square feet, so we're at 4,000 square feet of temporary impact. Finally, if there is any soil churned up or any vegetation that doesn't rebound, we would be planting some native plants that we're familiar with the area, such as sweet pepper bush, high bush blueberry, things like that. And we'd also have a wetland seed mix. But as you'll see in the actual pictures, which we'll show next, the pathway is actually quite wide open, and there's minimal trees that would be a hindrance to the machine itself. So the best photo, I would say, of what the existing conditions of the pathway is the top left one. That would be about the existing width of the cart path throughout the entirety of it. It does widen up, as you could see in the top right version of it, and then it also gets a little bit more narrow, as you could see in the bottom left one. So the actual mats will be just laid on top of the vegetation itself. The machine will cross it. The mats will then be removed, allowing the vegetation to then rebound and not be impacted. I've done this in several other towns, and the vegetation rebounds perfectly. There's no other impacts associated with the machine other than just laying down the mats themselves. I think that would be it for my commentary. If you have any questions for myself. Oh, sorry, one last thing. This whole area is mapped for rare species. It's priority habitat. We did also submit this simultaneously with Natural Heritage, and they did give us back they did state that this NOI would not adversely affect any of the rare species. So we just received this back yesterday, but that's their commentary on our NOI. And that was for the larger crossing with the bog mats, not even with the smaller excavator and then the rubber tires and the rubber mats. So that's just a note. If you have any questions for us or our wildlife biologist here, we'd be happy to field them. But we would be then requesting an order of conditions for this temporary crossing and then also the associated test pits.
All right, so I guess first question off the bat, the rare species. Do we know what type of rare species are in there?
We do. I don't think we would necessarily want to comment publicly on what species they are. We'd be happy to share it with the commission, but in the public forum, I think we're going to try and keep that buttoned up a little bit. But we do have that. We have had conversations with Natural Heritage about it as well, and I think the biggest takeaway is that they don't think it's going to adversely affect the rare species with our filing.
All right. So I just, to push back on you a little bit, if you tell us what the rare species is, then I'm almost definitely going to say something in a public meeting and it will get out there. So I'm not going to push you more than that, but, you know, eventually I think it will come out. And then after that, so can you just go over the steps of the test pits? Like what, like you need to bring in this big, not excavator, but the machine to do the test pits.
Correct.
Why aren't they being done in a other manner that you can just go in and, you know, dig it by hand or with a smaller machine?
So with these test pits, they need to be able to dig down deep enough to see where the water table is, and in some of these spots, they're high elevations, so you can't just dig by hand to see where these water tables fall. And also, they're going to be evaluating the sediment in each of the soil layers as they go down, and some of these go down to 46 inches, so using a hand shovel is just not going to do the trick.
And then I think for my last question for right now is, you know, the 41 Jenny's Way is this kind of oddly shaped lot that not snakes its way, but goes through this area. But, down, I think it's the southern part, or at least this image, the bottom left corner, I believe there's an access road. Have you, I guess, in a normal NOI, we would expect to see some sort of alternatives. It's not quite that, but have you looked into using that access road instead of going through the wetlands?
We did have conversations with that abutter and were asked not to use that road.
All right,
It's a private way, and we were restricted access on it.
all right. All right, so I just, this is kind of an odd application because it's only for wetland crossings and the test pits, sample, digging into to see the ground. It's just, our typical order of conditions is that after you're going to go through and temporarily, I don't want to say destroy, that's kind of a strong word, but you're going to put these mats down, it's going to disturb the vegetation. We typically ask for, 2 or 3 growing seasons to make sure that everything comes back. So I'm choosing my words very carefully because I don't want to comment about hypothetical future applications, but, it's, what you're doing right now is kind of limiting yourself to doing these samples, going through, and then waiting a couple, a year or two before you come back because we want to see them, regrow everything. And if it's possible just to, if you come back with a full application about everything, you can still do this as the first phase, and then if it doesn't work out for you, you can just not pursue it, I guess. I just want to let you know that, that's our standard, is that when you apply for a notice of intent and you're saying you're going to restore these areas, you're limiting yourself for the next 2 or 3 growing seasons before you can do anything with it. So I guess if you want to comment on that, by all means, I'm just going to let that be there. I don't want, again, I'm trying to choose my words very carefully because we can't comment about hypothetical future applications, but.
Yeah, I guess I just quickly confused as far as how the commission would suggest that we proceed on a site that we cannot access other than crossing that wetland to conduct soil tests before we know what we can build on that site. And then telling that we would need to wait 2 to 3 years once we decide what we could build until those growing seasons. So I'm confused as far as what the commission would recommend.
My recommendation, or what I don't even want to say a recommendation, I would just prefer to see a full application of everything what's your ideal situation to do with this land, and propose that instead of doing these, we have people coming here all the time going, we're going to do test pits here, here, and here, and then we're going to whatever. We don't have, unless it's National Grid, I can't think of. And even then, they come here, they do soil samples as the first phase. It just seems an odd way of conducting
So
this
I'd
business.
worry that it would be could be a waste of the commission's time in that the soil testing, the point of the soil testing is for the due diligence and to direct the site plan. So we could present to you with a plan that is based in absolute, not reality, because we don't know what is out there to build on. So it's hard for us to come up with a legitimate plan to put in front of the commission. So I fear it would result in, wasting time in that, coming back again with an entirely different plan.
Can I piggyback off that as well? These test pits are also for the stormwater management system, and this project, if there was to be anything there, would have to adhere to the 10 stormwater management standards, and the engineer that would be designing a project would have no idea what kind of soil, because that's very dependent on how the stormwater system acts until these test pits were completed. If the engineer doesn't think that this area is even suitable for stormwater management or could get to the stormwater 10 management standards, then this project would be then null and void, and we would have had then wasted the commission's time coming with a project that couldn't even be approved under the Stormwater Act.
All right, understood. I just want to throw that out to you guys that it's not the way I would prefer to see it, but I mean, you're perfectly welcome to request, to make the application as you see fit. So,
And I appreciate the conversation and the discussion on it. So, just in that consideration, without understanding what you're going to potentially include in that order, and you say you typically require a 1 to 2 year growing season period afterwards. What is your boundary of that, as far as the impact, the area that is limited for additional disruption?
the cart path you're proposing is effectively going to wipe, not, what I keep on, I don't want to say destroy all the plants. It's not going to totally ruin everything that's underneath there, but you're proposing an impact to that wetland piece. So we want to, we typically, if you do something to the wetlands, you have to remove vegetation. We say, all right, I think you have a restoration plan for that. We want to see it restored.
Can I just make a point? Maybe I was unclear about how the mats are going to be laid down. They're not going to be the typical bog mats that you would see, the pieces of wood that sprawl the entire area of the cart path. These mats would be picked up every couple of feet, laid back down, picked up, laid back down, so the plants and the vegetation wouldn't even have the mat or the excavator on them for longer than a couple of minutes as we're crossing, because they would be moved every single time that you would need to then move the excavator through the cart path.
So it's not,
This is not
It's not like a national
This is not a
grid
permanent,
situation
yes.
where they're
all right,
laid down.
you're not creating a temporary road.
For sure.
You're moving them.
Just moving them to allow the excavator to do the least amount of damage to the BVW, but also cross effectively. These won't be in place when the excavator is doing the test pits. It'll only be in place when they're actually moving through the wetland.
All right. And I guess how big are these mats?
These are about 4 feet wide to accommodate the tire of the machine.
But how long, I guess?
So probably the width of this table, excuse me.
Yeah, they would probably be around 6 to 8 feet long.
All right.
But if the ground is really wet, the machine is going to sink into the ground and is going to destroy
Yeah,
plants.
we're happy to adhere to maybe a drier condition or time of year so the area would be more dry, or at least maybe after not a large rainstorm, so the machine could then move effectively through the bordering vegetated wetland without then crushing or adding ruts or anything like that. If you went out there right now, you wouldn't even be able to tell the cart path is a BVW without going with a soil sample, because it's that dry. This cart path has been there for a long time, and there's a reason it has, because it's been so compacted down for people traversing through it.
These are active pathways in the,
Correct, yep. I think they look like they've been used for dirt bikes or something along those lines for many years.
What's the approximate length of going across?
500 linear feet.
And just to clarify something Dan asked earlier, this is the only way to get into that land?
Correct. It's either we're entering through a single-family lot, a private lot, or Interstate 93, and that's just not feasible. And then the road below, we've been denied access. That would be the easiest route for sure. We would even be able to cross through an area that wasn't border or buffer zone to BVW, but we were completely denied access to that road.
because that's is that a solar farm? Yeah, never mind. That's, I don't think, relevant to the,
I still would be more comfortable with the two growing seasons that we usually do.
Can I just ask a clarifying question about the 2 growing seasons? If we were to go out there, there would be no impact to the wetland or the vegetation after the mats are removed. What would we then be monitoring?
So, yeah, I guess I was under the impression that this is going to cause a lot more disturbance.
Well, if that's the case, then fine, but I think for
Yeah.
our own protection, we need to put in that 2 growing seasons that we usually do.
Potentially, maybe
Yeah,
Abigail.
maybe you won't, maybe
No,
we'll
absolutely.
change. Maybe
Yeah.
things will change. Abigail will go out and look at it, and maybe she'll.
That's what I was about to suggest, perhaps after the test pits are done, we've crossed both ways. Abigail and myself, or somebody from Goddard, can then walk the cart path and assess any damages, and then she could then direct if plantings or seed mix would be then needed, and then a monitoring program could be then implemented.
And just for, again, I apologize, but this is important, obviously, for a point of clarification. If it is decided that there is a area that was disturbed enough to require the 2-year monitoring period, is it just that one section then that we would need to avoid in a future application if we came back and determined that we were interested in doing something else on this property and avoided that section as part of that NOI for that 2-year period? Would that be acceptable to the commission?
I don't want to speak for
Because again, we're talking about I'm worried that this is going to then render the entire property untouchable when we're talking about an incredibly small piece of the entire property.
I think if there's a area of disturbed vegetation that needs, to be restored,
Yep.
and then you were to come back and propose a alternative route, as long as it's not like further into, like, it's kind of, it's all wetlands right there.
Yep.
So we can't really say this wetland is better than this wetland, and this area over here is better than this area over here. So like, I guess you could, potentially go around. I would hate, but with that said, like, according to the law, it's a wetland, but like, as long as you're not going into a vernal pool or something like that, I think I would be okay with that.
Okay, yeah, and yeah, it wasn't about picking or choosing, it was more of if there was a different location that we chose this route to access because there is the existing cart path. So we felt that it would be the least impactful way to access the upland area. I can't say for certain that would be the route that we would choose if we were to look to build something to access that upland area. So my point is being that the cart path may be over here, we may choose a different area, 30 feet south of the cart path to eventually access it as part of the future NOI. So I'm curious as to, when you're saying that we're restricting it for the growing seasons, what exactly would be restricted? Just that one area that is.
Yeah.
Sorry?
The affected area.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
We can apply common sense as long as it's on plans.
thank you.
Just wish there was another way in there.
Yeah, it's,
Agreed.
What's the approximate size of this parcel?
Well, the parcel in its entirety is over 120 acres. There is a piece of parcel that's in Wilmington. The part that's in Tewksbury that we're seeing, looking primarily at right here, is roughly 100 acres.
76.
I think that sounds about right, actually, yeah. Thank you. There's also including the piece above it. Totals at about 100.
and you said there's a portion in Wilmington?
That's plan bottom we're looking at. It's beyond the stream. We're not planning on going in that piece at all. We're not going anywhere near there.
All right. I don't know what Wilmington's,
Yeah, we're not planning on doing anything there, so we
Yeah.
don't have any intentions of reaching out to or.
because they,
Lynn, do you have any?
Is that stream Sutton Brook? Is that what that is?
I believe that's correct. It's the one that's down on the southern portion of the property right there. That's a perennial stream.
It's what, excuse me?
Perennial stream,
Yeah, so it's Sutton Brook.
I think so.
So is there any plans to look into the possible contamination from the Superfund site, or
I don't-
any issues of?
I don't think we're necessarily looking to talk about anything proposed right now, but we're also not going to be then impacting any of the riverfront area or the associated buffer with the wetland that's there. So I don't think currently we have any plans of looking into the Superfund site or the brook itself.
All right. I guess, any additional questions or comments from the commission?
No, just thinks you gotta go through
Just,
wetlands.
yeah, just a 2-year growing period, I think we need to put into the conditions.
All right. All right, so this is a public hearing. Anybody in the public can get up and make a comment. I ask that you go up there and introduce yourself, name and address for the record. There's a lot of people here, so if it looks like everybody's going to be getting up, I'm going to limit conversation to about 5 minutes. And I just want to remind everybody, this is about the wetlands. We've kind of tried to, weave our way through hypothetical future project plans without really discussing them as best we can. So we have to stay, legally, we have to stay on topic and not, talk about certain things. So I'm just going to remind you guys of that. And I guess the floor is yours. Could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's John Cave. I live on South Street, and I've lived there for 47 years. My family's owned land there since 1942. And I have 6 questions to ask. Has anybody filed to the Natural Heritage? Have they filed a plan with them?
You have
Yes,
filed a plan.
and we received no impact from them.
Okay, and another question I have, has anybody studied on the protection of species that are there, like lady slippers and animals? And the other question, how do we know there are no additional protection species since they've wanted the ramp for the mall to go on that property? They wanted to put the mall on there, they stopped it, and they said they would never let them go on that property. The Army of Engineers surveyed the property, and that
I'm
walk...
sorry, can you repeat that last question? Who said that it's restricted?
It was when they were trying to put the mall in, and they were going to come off the highway. The Army engineer, stopped it because there was too many different species out in the swamp. There's a lot more wetlands, and there's only 70-something acres in Tewksbury, and the rest is in Wilmington. To clarify that statement, there's no 100 acres out there. And the temporary crossing over the brook for testing, will this become a permanent? Because that's what builders usually do. They get a temporary, and then they try to get a permanent one. Is this being set up to be a permanent crossing? That's what I want to know. The possibility of hiring an independent scientist out there before they start to check the property. And this has nothing to do with it, but a lot of people down on South Street have gotten run over the hills, what happened over in Andover, and they let everybody go. There's more traffic going down there now than ever. And I feel sorry. I'm lucky my house sets in. The poor people that live on South Street, they're getting crushed. with these trucks, cement trucks. They all go down and rent in Andover, and the town let them go in there, and the guy just cut all the trees he wanted, and they didn't get them stopped. And I think they don't, and that car path, that's not a walking path, that's been a horse path for years and years, and this, I can't say it now, but we kind of own that path. That's all I have to say.
All right, so I don't know if we can respond to every single one of your questions. It's a lot of information. If you want to submit those questions to Abigail, we can try to figure out, some more information on them. The stuff
And
about
that's not a walking path. That's a hay wagon trail. It's been there for years and years and years. So, and I don't want to discuss that right now because that's got nothing to do with what they're trying to do.
Again, I'm really trying to choose I was trying to gently nudge you into submitting a full project plan. I understand your reasons for not doing that, but that kind of goes into, it's, unless they want to answer about hypothetical future permanent structures there, I don't think that's really within the bounds and the scope of this discussion right now.
Okay, right.
I will add one thing to that, and just that, I mean, we will be back in front of the commission if we were to advance any sort of a plan for future construction. We would be required to open up a new public hearing, would give the opportunity to speak specifically to that.
Yeah, so, like...
The only comment I want to say, not to interrupt this, is allegedly there's an Army Corps of Engineers report on this property? From verbally, is there?
Not that I'm aware of. I did receive the letter, I think yesterday afternoon, from NHESP that this wouldn't cause, damage, but I haven't seen a report.
Sir, you said there was a report, and that's why they stopped for the species, et cetera, on this property?
When the Army came in and did the testing in there, that's why they stopped. They couldn't come off the ramp because there was too much.
Do you have an approximate year?
What year was that? Well, when they wanted to do the mall. I'm sure the town has it on file because they went along for about 3 years.
If you're going to make a comment, I ask that you
I'm just
go
concerned we have conflicting reports.
Yeah.
That's why I'm
I
asking.
don't have it, but I'm sure we could get it. Because that.
I can look for it as well. It wasn't something that I
Okay, it's just
I knew about or
something
dug
he
into.
quoted, and we don't
Yep,
look into it.
I put it on my list.
Okay.
And most half the land that they own is in Wilmington, and it's all swamp to the river, to Sutton Brook. And on the other side, they got about 22 acres on the other side, which is good land. And I know, I've been living up here for 57 years. I mean, not 57 years. I'm sorry, 47 years. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the commission? Yep, just go up.
Hello, I'm Dottie Paquin, and I live at 95 Jenny's Way with my husband, who is?
Jeff Paquin, 95 Jenny's Way.
And we're here today to just come talk to you guys. We are a local homeowner on the map that is right next to the wetland area. It is very wet in my backyard. I will tell you that it's wetland and I'm next to it, and when I step outside on my backyard, oftentimes I can feel the wetland approaching on my property, and my backyard's not that big, right? But I guess what I wanted to say is that SX Petries come in today with an intention to build, and I'm concerned about giving the precedent of allowing them to come through the wetlands in order to access their land. Because if they do build, I think there would be proposals for additional use of that land in the future, and I think that would potentially impact my property in terms of maybe flooding in the future. sounds, noise, construction, obvious traffic overload for the street that we live on off South Street. It's got a lot of shrubbery. It's not a high throughway put area for a lot of cars. I don't think it was built really as a residential small area in South Tewksbury. And when we purchased, it was told to us that there would be no construction behind us because it's a wetland, which I think meant that we would need to lean on you guys, right? The Conservation Commission of Tewksbury, to prevent builders from coming into our backyard and potentially building residential areas that could potentially impact the environment, but also, our homes. I'll let him go next, sorry.
Thank you. So you did mention earlier on the presentation, thank you for providing feedback as far as how you might go through the Jenny's Way access, but you did make a comment about mitigation on, that would be the northwestern corner as it comes close to 93, about water mitigation there. And I guess that's looking at the FEMA hazard flood maps, that seems to be the area where it was be most impacted by flood zones based on the current mapping of the town. And our question is, what, if any, testing would be done there? I see that you're trying to go to the middle of the property to do some testing, and is that truly an accurate reflection of what the property's holistic use could be if we're not testing closer to where the flooding areas might be? Again, to my wife's point, it is quite wet through that area. Concern is you're taking a whole bunch of impermeable surfaces or permeable surfaces and making them impermeable potentially. Certainly there's stormwater management, but I think our concern is not only impacts to that wetland, potential flooding, but because that's a small brook that kind of goes back, meanders back towards Andover and that conservation thing. We're also thinking systemically for this project. Granted, you're only testing to find out what can you do, and we understand and respect that, but I think in terms of test pitting, it really wants to paint a bigger picture of what the site might look like, and I think that would give you a more accurate barometer of the potential impacts of whether this is go, no-go. Separately, again, you did mention that you've got a process where you're going to come through the access road of 41 Jenny's. I think it was agreed by the team here that it would be an evaluation after that to see the growing impacts, see if there was any real damage through there. But our concern also is, okay, these are endangered areas, there's species, there's plants, there's animals, what have you. What processes are in place to protect those during these construction activities? There's white papers out there that demonstrate that construction areas and high noise actually impacts those habitats and their growth or migration or those sorts of things. So I wanted to try and hear from you a little bit about what other mitigations you look at in terms of when you're doing the work on the site and what protection you do to those existing ecosystems.
So I'll just speak on the FEMA point quick. So the FEMA bordering land subject to flooding, which is the 100-year flood zone, has very little to do with stormwater management. It's just a resource area under the Wetlands Protection Act, meaning that area in the 100-year flood would have water potentially. The performance standards for that resource area would be that there would be no grade changes in there preventing stormwater from entering that location, providing storage. Our proposed project here is not changing any grades, we're just driving across the land, so the impact to the FEMA flood zone would be nothing.
Okay.
There's no change to the bordering land subject to flooding at all. And then I'll allow Christina, our wildlife biologist, to speak to your point about the potential impacts to any wildlife.
Thank you.
So recently I actually visited the site and I spent an entire day out there basically walking through all the forests and keeping in mind the rare species on that site and making sure that there weren't any habitat features there that could potentially be trampled during these test pits or anything like that. And during my assessment, I didn't find any unique habitat features that pertain to those rare species. And I'm confident, along with the natural heritage letter, which essentially confirmed that none of these species were documented on the site, and essentially confirmed that the habitat isn't here. Obviously, if there were any future applications, they may require additional information, but at this time, they have determined that there is no take of rare species involved with this proposed application. So hopefully that helps.
Thank you for that clarification. I think that the other point too, and you started to address it, I believe, as far as like, again, I know we can't talk about the future and make speculatory comments about that. You know, we just did witness you give the guy a business about a 12-foot driveway and the potential impacts of water runoff. Okay, that's fine. That's only 75 acres or so. But the point being is that I want to hear a little bit more about the test locations and what really you're trying to seek. I mean, obviously you're looking at water permeability, you're looking at soil compaction and things like that. And when we consider what this future site might look like, don't we think that a real telltale story should be told about diversity of site, where you're testing on the site, to paint that real big picture? Our fear would be that, say you make it through this stage, you test some sort of select areas, maybe not near the Superfund site or near the highway, and everything looks favorable, and you start to march along, and now you're back where you said you're wasting your time because you can't do anything on the site relative to some of those areas. You cannot get your ROI based on site development. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about what informed your site selection and test pits.
But primarily, if you're looking at the site, it's the upland area and the available area that would be buildable. And that was really what drove the location for those test pits.
Is there an overlay to this map that describes what the buildable area is of this site? Is that really kind of more of the white space?
Essentially, yeah, for the purposes of this meeting and this discussion, we'll call buildable outside of the wetland area.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your time. I appreciate your input.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess something you kind of touched on that's a little concerning is that like the potential rare species, you didn't notice anything out there, but it's kind of like, here's a potential place for this rare species, and if we're doing stuff to this land, now it's not going to be potential space. So I don't know, like, I guess I would be interested in seeing some sort of report or, you know, information about, you know, the type of species that, you know, why this is set off, you know, for them. And even if they're not there right now, like, what are the chances of them ever coming back? Like, you know, let's say, you know, for whatever reason you decide not to go through with anything, you know, potentially the species going, oh, look, this great area that I could live in. And like, it might be as simple as like, they can't cross the highway, so it's very unlikely, but I don't know what we're talking about. So, you know, I would be interested in seeing something along those effects of them coming back. And
Yeah, I understand that, and like I said before, the Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program prefers that we don't disclose these species publicly, but I understand that you have this curiosity, like you have no idea what the species is, but I will say that it's quite simple in a way to distinguish whether this species would use this habitat, considering they have very specific habitat features, especially in terms of plants. And I did not find any of the specific plants that these species use on the site, in which all of them would be easy to identify this time of year since they are actively blooming. So I'm extremely confident that their habitat isn't found on the site. I would be excited if they were, honestly, but it simply just doesn't support the habitat, and the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program has obviously the species information, and so if there were sightings of the species on the site or even in close proximity to the site, I'm sure they would have expressed some sort of concerns, and typically they would even ask us to do some sort of, you know, informal, like higher level assessment, but they didn't even ask for that, which suggests that this is probably the least of their concerns in terms of this, these species and where they were observed in proximity to the site.
So just, the process with NHESP is to, you send in your address and they have polygons identified based on GIS mapping that are pretty substantial. And then it potentially flags or triggers additional. And that was what was conducted, and they reviewed and then sent back based on the detailed assessment that they were not concerned with it. So it was originally, the original areas that flag it are pretty broad and pretty wide.
So I can assume
It's an incredibly unscientific way to say it. I apologize, but
I can assume that the species, give or take, is smaller than a black bear.
For sure.
Dan, is it possible for us to get a third-party
That's what I was kind of
verification of
thinking.
this? Because, not that I don't believe you, but you are sitting here next to the builder, and
Yeah, of course.
Well, and that's fair, but for the purposes of this project and what we're doing here, the NHESP did comment on it.
Yeah, in a way, they kind of function as like the third party in a way, like,
but they haven't walked the site.
yeah, of course, but.
And as someone mentioned, these test borings it's going to be disturbing, very disturbing to the site. You're bringing in a machine, it's an area that has basically not been touched. And
And you said I'm not seeing it in the meeting materials where the heritage site, is
If you
commented.
just look at the site plan, it's the whole site plan.
Yeah.
It's all mapped, the whole thing
All
aside
right,
from Sutton
it's
Brook.
all yellow.
All
It's-
yellow aside from Sutton Brook, and then also the agricultural farm, that's to the northwest, that one's not mapped either.
I guess, so I'm understanding the need to not comment on the exact species that may potentially be there, but besides that overlay of the yellow area, is there something from them stating, more to that effect besides just that? Like, do they have a letter saying,
Here's the letter.
All right, this is it
Here's the
right
letter
here.
that they submitted
All right.
right here, that we just received 2 days ago. This is just the first page of it. It's just describing the project because we filed this application simultaneously with Natural Heritage, and then they had 30 days to comment on it, on whether or not this area or our project would impact the rare species. So this is the first page. The second page is, the area where you see the Wetlands Protection Act, it's tough to see, but there's a bolded section that says, will not adversely affect. That's Natural Heritage commenting on this project, confirming that there's going to be.
Only for the test pits and
Only for the
This is
test pits.
specifically just for this application.
all right.
If we were to move forward with anything more substantial as far as a build, we would go through this entire process
All right.
again. And so we would reapply with the NOI to NHESP to get their review of that as well.
And as Christina noted before, that any larger project, not necessarily just a temporary crossing, would probably get a little bit more scrutiny from Natural Heritage because it would be a larger scale impact. But because this is such a small impact, potentially no impacts to the wetland itself aside from the temporary crossing, they didn't seem to mind, and there's no adverse effect to it.
All right. I'm just, a hypothetical future, I'm thinking of potential conditions, but I won't say anything besides
so
just
this
that.
addresses the temporary crossing, but does it address the soil pits?
The soil pits, the entire notice of intent, the site plan that you saw, and the description of it was all included with the notice of intent submittal to Natural Heritage. So that was then commented on by Natural Heritage, and that's what you're looking at right there.
All right, so we're still in a public hearing, we kind of got off the public, and but you have somebody else.
Greg Cave, live on 40 Jenny's Way.
Thank you.
My question is, like, crossing any water, because there is a brook there that comes from the Superfund site, so disturbing that is what I want to know. Are they crossing any water? Yeah, there's pictures, but they're very vague. It's not 500 feet in their pictures, so I can't tell. Are they crossing water? I know the area, played there, lived there my whole life. I know that will flood up to 2 feet sometimes. Not that that matters to you guys, that's not the hearing. And that brook will run like a river. I mean, it goes across the When it runs over down South Street, you have to close the road. So the brook will run like a river. So it does do that. Right now, it's dry, you're not going to have that, but are they crossing water?
You're basically saying that there's a intermittent stream
Yes.
at this area?
Well, I don't know exactly, it's very vague from that picture.
Yeah, have you
To get to
looked
that
into
property,
that?
you either got to go through a swamp or over a river. So that's what I want to know.
It's on the site plan here. It's an intermittent stream. It's flagged on the site plan on the presentation you could see. That's what the interior is. It's approximately 3.5 feet wide right now as it currently sits dry. So we would then propose a condition to only cross the wetland when it was completely dry to prevent any adverse effect to the intermittent stream or any down gradient resource area.
That's the timing that you have
Yes,
between
that would be the
April
timing. It would
16th
be
and
potentially like late June through potentially September 15th,
Yeah.
which would be the start to the growing season, and you'd expect some more rain and storms.
It never dries. The stream always runs through there. Lived there my whole life. Runs through there, clear as day. It's running right now. If we want to go out there, we can go out there. It's running. There is water there, and they have to cross water, and it's more than 500 feet, the wetlands. Yeah, they're showing you a picture, but where's the picture? Where's the GPS locations of that picture? They're showing the public. And why won't they tell the public what's out there? To me, that's just being, you don't want to clarify everything you have and not be open and honest to the people that abut the land. That's my problem.
I appreciate your comments. I don't know how much I want to comment about
those are the
their
issues.
honesty right
So,
now.
Those are the issues that are there.
So I think right now it's labeled as an intermittent stream. I think that's kind of pointing towards Linda's not issue, but like concern of potentially getting a wetland scientist out there. It kind of seems like a wetland scientist at this point is, I don't know. At first, I thought the wetland impacts were going to be a lot more. You're making it sound like it's very minimal, but
I can also comment on the status of the intermittent stream if you'd like as well. So in the regulations 10.58 Wetlands Protection Act, they do lay out how you determine an intermittent stream. One is to photograph it 4 days during one calendar year. They have, if you look at the USGS map, if it's a thin, light line, that's how you see. If it's not mapped at all, then you can consider that an intermittent stream as well. As long as it then also fits to StreamStats application, which is a USGS application online program, which has a whole database, and you set the drainage area, which is the large area where the water would drain to your intermittent stream, and it has to be under a certain amount of certain parameters. And in this case, it is under those certain parameters laid out in the Wetlands Protection Act. So because this area is not mapped on USGS, one, and it also doesn't meet the parameters for StreamStats to be a perennial stream, that being a drainage area of greater than 1 mile, or a drainage area of half square mile and a flow duration of under 0.01, this area cannot be considered a perennial stream, unless other information was to come about. But what I'm presenting now is the majority of the information that can be presented on an intermittent stream itself.
Do we know when that declaration of intermittent stream was made?
It's the StreamStats application was included with the notice of intent packet. If you're looking at it, it's under the bank of intermittent stream definition, and it lays out exactly what the parameters were. And you can also look on the most recent USGS map and see that it's not mapped at all.
It wasn't in this, that it was. Yeah, so it doesn't say in here when it was.
It doesn't, we're not talking about the 4 days of non-flowing conditions, because that strictly applies to a perennial stream. If you were changing the designation from perennial to intermittent, this is strictly talking about intermittent streams that are either not mapped on the USGS map or are the light blue line on the USGS map. And in this case, it's only a light blue line, so you wouldn't need to then also provide the photo evidence. The stream stats application would suffice.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Greg K. 40 Jennings Way again. So to me, they're being deceiving. They didn't tell you it was there. They never told you they're going over water, correct? So why weren't they honest and upfront about going over water? So that's why you should probably have a third party go out there and look at it, because maybe they're not being honest about everything. So if they're saying they submitted it to you, not one picture of the stream, just because it's not on a map doesn't mean something's not there. Your GPS will take you into an ocean if you want to follow it. Doesn't mean that it's accurate. So they know it's there. They didn't tell you guys. They didn't give you any evidence of it's there. You can walk out there and see it, but it's not on a map. But you can go out there and visually see it. So they're not being honest and upfront with this board. And that should give you to end this meeting and not give them the permission, in my opinion.
Thank you. All right. So I think for right now, my biggest concern is that we have somebody claiming that the Army Corps of Engineers has said that this can't be built upon. So I know you're currently the timing is to start right now and go until the 30th. I guess I would propose that we do a little bit more research on this and we extend this to the next meeting, which is August 13th. And that will give us a little bit more time to, do some research and figure out if we need additional person to go out there, and if anybody else wants to. I think I'm gonna take a drive out there, and if you guys are the property owner, so.
From my thing, I think
Bring your
this has
swim
big
trunks.
enough implications where we need to do due diligence.
Yeah.
And if that means a third party, and I completely agree with Linda and yourself.
So.
I'm sorry, so just to clarify that we're looking for a reference to an Army Corps permit that we do not know if it exists, and that's what we're delaying for?
Yes, because it sounds like there's a potential hurdle that's saying this can't be built upon.
I just question, what is that potential based on?
Well, he said that the Army Corps of Engineers said this would never be developed because of the species, et cetera. We'd like to know if that exists, because that's complete contrary to what we're being told. This isn't a...
So if they come to the next meeting and say that they heard someone say something 30 years ago that somebody else said that you can't build here, are we going to then delay? I'm just curious, this feels to me like it's based on just someone voicing some concerns over being in a butter, but...
Somebody calls that out, and somebody, there's a stream that's there, yes, it's finite there somehow, some way, and we just want to be overly cautious.
And I appreciate that, and I do want to address the stream piece as far as there's a specific method which the team used to identify that, so whether there is active water there or not. And so just to be clear, as far as the claims that there was some attempts to mislead or disrespect the commission, it is based on the regulation which this commission it has jurisdiction over. It has specific guidelines which define whether it's a stream or not. And so that is what this analysis is based on, the guidelines that this commission regulates.
Which we fully understand. I mean, we're just, when someone throws that out there, that's not a random.
So I'm just curious.
It's on Google.
I'm just curious.
I know it's a public meeting.
No, I know, I'm just
but
saying,
we're having a discussion right now. I just ask that you wait a little bit longer before I open it back up to the public.
So I understand that we're going to search for an Army Corps
And potentially
designation.
a third party.
So that was what I wanted to get. A third-party review for what?
That would be the,
Potential endangered species habitats.
So I'm not sure, so the process for determining if there's endangered species is to apply to the NHESP and ask for their determination, which is what that letter has done. That determination isn't something that was done by our team. That determination was done by the NHESP. So I'm just not sure there's a third party that would overrule the NHESP.
Or validate what you've told us tonight.
But isn't that what the NHESP has done? Like, I'm not sure what we're searching for. That's all. I just want to make sure that we have a defined
as Linda
direction.
quoted, they did not walk the property.
But that's not a requirement of,
And we understand that, but we also want to do our due diligence and make sure we're not going to, lack of better term, step on a landmine here. So I concur with Linda's, let them, if we decide to go that way, look for this alleged report, which I'm being told exists. So let's just, let's hear the public comments and.
Yeah, I think, all right.
Kim K, 40 Jenny's Way. I just Googled the report. It was in the town meeting, May 2002. This land with the Army Corps, all that conversation.
So it does exist.
It does exist.
and that report states that no building can be done on this.
We don't know what the report, hence why I'd like to extend this.
We're hearing this, like, we don't want to extend it indefinitely. We just, the next meeting, we can give a little bit more time. It might be, a report saying that the Army doesn't recommend doing it, but it's no further than that. Like, this is pretty.
I'm assuming that Army Corps of Engineer report was related to some sort of a 404 or 401 request related to a specific project that was built. And so it.
Well, we don't know, and I'm not going to speculate. I think we need to look at it. Do you agree?
Yes.
Abigail?
Yes, I mean, it's been brought up by the public.
Yes, I can certainly find it. Especially if it's in town records, I can certainly find it.
All right, I'm going to open it back up to the public. Could you just introduce yourself for the record?
Jess Mader, 100 Jenny's Way. So just to begin, I feel like there's been a real lack of transparency on your part here. And it doesn't surprise me, quite frankly, because, I know there's progress, I know people build, but, we want to partner with good companies with good reputations. So, Googling your company and doing research, you've been cited by the EPA.
Hold on, I'm not sure we should go down this track. We're still talking about the wetlands.
So we shouldn't,
and not.
We shouldn't discuss their reputation and how in Forsyth County, Georgia, your own home state where the company is based out of, that homeowners presented evidence that Pulte had been aware of issues including numerous notices, compliance, stop work orders. Your runoff was damaging their house. You ignored you ignored injunctions. Actually, the jury found that Pulte acted with specific intent to cause harm to the families involved. So I would impart to the board, be careful who you get in bed with, because these guys are bad actors.
Thank you. All right. It's clear you want us to rule right now, correct?
Well, that would be preferred, but I would like to understand, what the commission prefers.
I would prefer, we got, the next meeting is in August. I don't think that's a tremendous, I mean, it's not the, or is it the 2 weeks?
So I apologize, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go.
I only asked that, and I appreciate the fact that it's on August 13th, it's only a month away, and I get that, but if we're also going to be adding time restrictions on, as one of the conditions, that we just take that into account as we're looking to move this forward, that's all. As I just worry that if we're talking September, and, now that really
You
limits
missed your
us.
window.
Yeah.
Correct.
We understand.
Okay, thank you.
So, all right, so I guess at this point, I'm going to request a motion to continue this application to the next meeting on August 13th, 2025. I want to make clear to the public that this is a public hearing. The public hearing has not been closed. At the next meeting, the public hearing will be reopened. So you'll get another chance to speak if you so choose to. So just want to make that clear. But could I have a motion to continue this application to the next meeting on August 13th, 2025?
I'll make that motion as discussed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Before you go, can I get your signature?
Yeah, so I guess, should I talk through Abigail for the next process? Because another part of my concern is if we are going to talk about introducing some sort of a third party, how do we, that would need to happen, if.
Abigail will coordinate.
Yeah.
I'll give you a call tomorrow.
All right, thank you, Abigail, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Before you go, can I get your signature on the continuation? Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
It's closed out of everything.
Thank you so much.
So we'll touch base tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll call you.
All right. Item G is an enforcement order for Marcos Aguilar for 617 Shawshene Street, Assessors Map 84, Lot 63. Abigail, I believe you've gone kind of back and forth with them.
Yes, so they weren't able to get, the goal, I guess, was to get the NOI submitted for public hearing today. They weren't able to get that in enough time, but I did get the NOI yesterday. So they have submitted it in their best efforts, but.
Just to be clear, this is the one across the street from Market Basket they cleared.
Okay, all right, I was going to say, a
I'm
little
sorry.
refreshing on that one.
So this was continued, it was, they clear cut the lot across their Market Basket, yeah. And so the commission requested that they file an NOI. They have filed the NOI, but they filed it yesterday. So I looked at it, all the stuff is there, but I didn't open much. So there wasn't enough time to kind of go over everything today, and there wasn't enough time for a public hearing, but they did submit it, and their hope is that you'll be willing to just continue it again to the next meeting, so that, we can sort of look at the NOI and the enforcement order together.
So just procedurally, I'm curious about we can continue it to next meeting, but then they'll be applying, so there'll be an enforcement order and an NOI. The enforcement order, I guess, we can vote to close the enforcement order because they have an active NOI application before us.
If that is how you all want to vote, in a perfect world, it would go, you would vote to ratify the enforcement order, vote to close out the enforcement order, and then open the public hearing for the NOI.
All right, so yeah, that
Just
was
so that
So
if
you have all right, we need some help on that one.
That's how I'll put it on the, that's how.
wherever they end
Not
up on
afraid
the
to say,
list,
right.
you can do enforcement order and then the NOI right after that, just so it's not like at the end or,
Yes,
you typically stack
As far as the
these.
enforcement order, they can't close it out. You can't close out an enforcement order because they technically we have an open public hearing on their NOI, which means they technically haven't, they haven't done it yet, although they have. You can't close it out because it's not technically in terms of like the agenda done.
We'll ask for the tutorial next time.
Yeah.
Right?
So we don't remember.
I'm not going to remember.
So I'm going to ask for a motion to continue this enforcement order to the next meeting.
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, and now agenda item H, enforcement order for Robert Zwicker, 1628 and 1636 Shawshene Street, Assessors Map 113, lots 2 and 3. Could you please introduce yourself for the record? Oh, yeah.
Oh, more paper.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so to recap, so you were cutting down some trees, in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't like you were clear cutting a forest, but you cut down trees that were on town property and outside of the wetlands, I believe. Our enforcement order basically says the tree warden has been notified and is taking the appropriate actions. I believe you're in discussion with the tree warden at this time, so can you just...
Yep, that is correct. So I'm actually going to meet him over there again, just to re-clarify some things, because at first glance, it seemed a little overwhelming what might have taken place, but as times kind of went on a little bit, some of the stuff that was cut is starting to come back. He assumed it was trees, more trees than any like brush type stuff. So just to start from the beginning, most of or all of the work that was being performed by my tree company was at 1636 Shawshene Street. It was out of the 100-foot buffer zone, had nothing to do with conservation, anything like that. That's where all the work was. Over on the other side of the property in the area that got impacted, there was, if you look at the bottom picture on page 1, you can see, I know it's hard, this is from Google Images from 2023, so the image is a little tough, but this is the 2 trees that were dying. You can tell there's dead bark on them, or it appears that there's dead bark on them. Those 2 trees were dead and they fell over and they were leaning against a tree and towards Shawshene Street. So I thought I was doing the right thing by asking him while he had his crane there to grab those trees, because if one branch broke, if you turn to the next page, the top picture where I circled, you can see the rub mark where the tree was rubbing against it. One part of the tree, which was the smaller part of the tree, and the bigger part of the tree was off to the left and towards Shawshene Street. So if that limb broke, then that whole tree was going to drop on the road. I just thought I was, doing the right thing in hindsight. Like Kevin told me, you should have just asked, we would have taken care of it. So I should have went that route, I'm well aware. And then the other one, if you look at the top picture on page 1, you can see all that overgrown brush coming to the sidewalk. That root ball was back 9 feet from the curb. The brush that we asked him to clean up, which is the bottom of the top picture on page 3, was 6 feet back from the sidewalk. So again, my thought was, could you remove some of that overgrown growth so the fire hydrant's more visible? Because that was just kind of my thought process on it. So I just really thought I was doing the right thing. Again, there was no personal gain. I had nothing to get out of it. So I do apologize. But I am working with Kevin to, do my part. I told him I'll clean up the area. There's a bunch of trash in there. I care about that area. I think we've done a lot to make. I don't know if you guys have driven by, but we're trying to make it look nice. Middlesex glass across the street looks nice. Tewksbury masonry looks nice. So, we're trying to add some curb appeal and just make the area look nice. So,
I think my recommendation is going to be, again, to continue the enforcement order, because you said you have another meeting with Kevin to talk about?
We're just going over, like, he called everything oak trees.
Yeah.
When they weren't. There's a handful of them that were bushes, shrubs, and they're already growing back. So he's just going to basically reduce or change the language of what he's calling a bush or a tree.
All right, so,
Right, I say we just let that work its way out.
yeah, we'll let
And
you
then-
work it out and continue this.
Agree with that, Abigail?
Would the commission like to ratify the enforcement order? So I issued the enforcement order administratively. Would you all like to ratify it and essentially agree with it? Or,
Because the enforcement order currently says that the applicant has to work this out with the tree warden.
correct,
All right.
correct.
I'm comfortable ratifying that way.
And
We're
then
not
you
going to
close
close
it
it
at a
out
different date.
until, yeah,
Right,
everything's
and-
settled down. But we're
So
going to,
we do our process, and then him and Kevin can work the details out, and then we'll just
And then you all can
we go
vote to
from there.
close it out.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like that idea.
all right, so I will take a motion to ratify this enforcement order as discussed at the meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. I just, I understand the circumstances. I just, again, I want to stress, like, you have an active order of conditions for your property right now. I told you if there's anything that is going on, give Abigail a quick call, and this could have been avoided, as I know you know that at this
Yeah.
point, but just still, I think before you got here, there was another application, they're closing it out, they had deviated from the plans. I kind of went not on a rant, but trying to put this out there into the universe that we keep on getting people who are changing from the plans ever so slightly, sometimes more than slightly, and it's like, so far, it hasn't caused any big issues, but who knows what's gonna happen. I don't want you to come here to close out and go, actually, this wall is unpermitted, this structure isn't
Yeah.
supposed to be
No,
there,
I understand all
and
that.
cause you money to have to remove it,
No, I think Abby can attest that the work we did to get the site plan, or the site as it was supposed to be, per the plans, was pretty spot on. We did everything well. We just went through, we pulled any of the, growth that was coming up through the level spreader to maintain that, and, just send people through there and doing our due diligence to make sure that we keep that, clean and tight. I honestly, I just wasn't even thinking. I was out in front of the house working on the house. It's like when I'm out back, it's all about the conservation and the wetlands, and then it just slipped my mind being out front that oh my God, this is like a 100-foot buffer area as well. So it won't happen again. I can assure you that.
All right, thank you.
All right, so now you want to make a motion?
Oh, yeah, so I'll continue I will entertain a motion to continue the enforcement order to the next, I'm going to say August 13th. Whether it happens in that timeframe, I'm not sure.
So can
But
I
we have
ask
to put something on the record for when the next.
what are we looking to come out of it?
Basically, you make amends with the DPW, and then we will find out what the repercussions are and whatever like this, and then we will.
Yeah, you have to settle this with the tree warden.
Yeah.
And then, the enforcement orders that we basically will adhere to what the tree warden, does.
It's just so you can document what the, okay, that's all I was trying to understand.
Like an open enforcement order, we don't have a way we don't have a solution, but we can say the tree warden has agreed with this with the client, and blah, 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 and we close it out.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So could I have a motion to continue the enforcement order to the August 13th, 2023?
Sorry. I think in this case, the commission can say, the enforcement order says until the applicant has done the applicant has done everything they need to do with the tree warden. and I may be wrong, but I don't think that this will be completely settled with the tree warden, not like what you have to do, but actually the act of doing it. I don't believe that would be settled. I think you can just continue this until it's done.
All right.
I don't know that you have to give, if the commission wants to give an August 6th, August 13th and bring them back, that's great.
I would prefer just like, we
leave it open-ended.
Yeah.
I think I don't even know
Are
that
we
you need
allowed
a
to do,
motion to
like-
continue.
That's what I was thinking. I know it's a little bit more
Everybody
strict
keeps
now.
pushing us on putting a date.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I would love to say in perpetuity.
I don't think you need a motion to continue because you've ratified the enforcement order. So that action on the agenda item is complete.
All right, so I will entertain a motion to continue this enforcement order. I'm just going to leave it at that.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Bob, do you have the?
I do.
I would love it. Thank you.
I'd say because I do what I'm told.
Maybe not. Yeah, I'll give it back to you. I'll call you tomorrow.
Have a good night, guys.
All right, thank you.
All right, administrator reports. So I just want to, National Grid notifications, we're going to get more notifications from National Grid about, what is it,
So we often get National Grid notification letters, just that they're doing maintenance on their right-of-ways, on things like that. And that's not been something that I've shared with you all, but it's been brought to my attention that I probably should be sharing them with you all. So they're there. I'm going to put them in a folder. So they're in a folder in this agenda. I'm going to put them in a folder just in the Teams where you'd find like this week's agenda, just so that you have access to them. It's all exempt activities in their right-of-way. But I get notification letters and I'm looking for somewhere to put them. So I'll put them also so that you have access to them. And if you'd like me, we can go and discuss them, but if not, they're there if you'd like to view them.
They are pretty good at what they do.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. It is a public service.
all right, and now to the much more fun thing, the Long Pond Pull Party. Last Saturday, we pulled a bunch of water chestnuts, and I'll let Abigail speak more to it. Yeah.
So I had come to you all a couple months ago and said that I had this really fun idea, and me and Alexandra, our town planner, and Dan came out and helped as well, that we were all really excited about it. And we weren't sure how it was going to go. It was our first time, it was sort of our pilot. And we had 16 volunteers, and then Alexandra, myself, and Dan all were out there on Saturday morning. We had 7 trash barrels. So those big, they were green. They were out on Long Pond if you drove by and saw them. We filled all of them completely with water chestnut. Everyone was out there really enthusiastic. Everyone was fantastic. So big thanks to all of them. But they did a really great job, and we cleared out a ton of water chestnut. And then in the next few days, we'll be coordinating with Water and Wetland. As long as the commission is willing to put their name on it again, we'd love to continue doing something like this. Not monthly, but probably, twice a season, as long as that kind of fits with the work that Water and Wetland is doing. We're excited to see Water and Wetland's coming out, I believe it's next week or the week after. So we're excited to see the reports compared to like June, what the water chestnut situation is looking like, also compared to last July, what it's sort of.
Are they still treating?
Yes, they are
That's a
currently still treating.
continuing.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I like it.
Yeah, it was a really fun experience. Like, you just go out, the water chestnuts, they look like cilantro. Like, it's like kind of the same shaped leaves. I didn't taste it, so I don't know if it tastes like soap or cilantro. But you just kind of start pulling it, and it just, the roots go down, and then like you pull one, and you see one 10 feet away start coming towards you. And it's just like, there was one guy, there's pictures, and it's like, just this gigantic mound on his kayak, just like.
How deep is it?
It's not a very deep, I forget, somebody said it's a kettle pond, which I guess that's a ice, not an iceberg, glacier came down, and it's just like 5 feet deep, so it's an indentation or something.
And it's just muck on the bottom?
Yeah, I think so. I wasn't gonna jump in. I got my hands dirty.
Asking for a friend, great.
Thanks, Steve. You answered my question.
The last thing before I
just want to say congratulations to Abigail for pulling that off. That was
Great job.
It was,
great job. I know it was a lot of work.
I make a motion to give her an accommodation.
Yes.
last.
Good.
We weren't sure if we were going to get all 7 barrels full. It's just kind of like, oh, maybe we'll be able to do 3 or 4, and then it's like, oh, we filled those barrels
The
up.
night before, I was pretty convinced it was going to rain, there was going to be no plants
Yeah.
in the water, and also nobody was going to show up. So we blew my expectations out of the water.
That's terrific. Congratulations.
Yeah, good job.
All right, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.